Was there a moment for you as a kid where you realized, oh my gosh, I'm really good at this and I love it, where you sort of discovered that singing was a possibility for you?
I always wanted to sing, and my parents told me I could sing, but I never really believed them because I was like, they're my parents and they're just going to tell me I'm good. But it was, I went to theatre school on Saturdays, and it was because I loved to sing that my parents were like, okay, why don't you go and do like singing lessons? And I was 9 years old, and I went, and the teacher I had in theatre school was this man called Ray. He was the first person that I actually listened to that was like, he's like, oh, you've got a really interesting husky voice. So when I was 9, he put me in the class with like 14 and 15-year-olds, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm going in with the teenagers. And that was terrifying, and especially being like the youngest in the class and still being put on the spot and like almost being like picked on and being like, okay, you have to get up and you have to perform. And it was that really like pushed me and made me feel like I could do it.
Yeah, trial by fire. In your Grammy speech, you talked about yourself as proof that a person can do whatever they put their mind to. And I wanted to ask you about how much of that was informed by your own history coming from Kosovo and your family having survived what it survived there. I love that we have Kosovo representing tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get a lot of like my work ethic from my parents, because throughout my whole life I've watched them be put in so many different situations, and I've just seen them just work so hard and work multiple jobs and go to university in the evening and try and better themselves, and at the same time raise a family and try and make me feel like I wasn't missing out on anything else that all the other kids had in school. It was you know, that kind of, especially as you get older, because you don't really understand it when you're young. Their support has really helped me focus on the things that were the most important. You know, when things got like difficult, or whenever like there was moments when I like doubted myself or I was stressed or whatever was happening, it was like I knew that my family would always be there to support me. And they were always like my parents, but they became my best friend when like I was about 15. And it was when they really trusted me and they let me move back to London from Kosovo. I've gladly taken on for them that I guess I work so tirelessly, and that, you know, I follow the things that I'm so passionate about, because it was like seeing my parents and their passion and like what they love to do. And my dad would say, like, you have to work really, really hard to get a little bit of luck. And I stand by those words every day. Mm-hmm. Like I really do believe that. I feel like, you know, there's one thing about being lucky, and there's one thing about being in the right place at the right time. But I never feel like those things happen unless you really work for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've heard you in the past call your sort of genre dark pop or even dance crying, which I think is perfect. Can you just talk a little bit more about kind of what that means to you, or why you would characterize it that way?
Well, I guess it's my love for pop, and then my love for honest lyrics, and being able to get everyone up on their feet and dancing, and, you know, allowing people to get lost in the moment. But if you stopped and really listened to the songs and listened to the lyrics, like, they're kind of sad. And it was like, maybe it's like a coping mechanism of me being able to like sing sad songs but dance to them and like not have to think about it. Or it's, oh yeah, that's it, really. Dance crying. I think it's just a coping mechanism.
I feel like in your singles especially, there'll be this sort of big, majestic pop chorus, but the verses kind of move at a pretty quick clip in a way that made me kind of wonder if that was inspired by rap, or the sort of particular vocal rhythms and cadences of rap, and if there happens to be, you know, a rapper in particular. I know you did a cover, an incredible cover of Chance the Rapper's Cocoa Butter Kisses, which is back from 2013 on your SoundCloud. And I wondered if you learned something about kind of how to put a verse together from listening to hip-hop.
Well, it was really while I was living in Kosovo that I really got into hip-hop, because that was all anyone ever listened to. So wherever you would go, I would just be so up to date with everything that was going on. I had friends in school that were just like obsessed with Tupac, so they would show me like the whole discography, and I was just constantly like learning. And it was just... I guess what I love about hip-hop and hip-hop artists is the storytelling. It's like the honesty, and, you know, when you listen to a J. Cole song, you feel like you're there, you're in the room with him, and you're kind of getting like a different kind of understanding of what's going on in the world. Like what he talks about is so real and so cutting that, you know, when something is so real and so honest that it almost makes you feel uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
It's that honesty, that rawness that I'm really like attached to. And so for me, it was like trying to figure out how to do that in pop music and how to be able to create something that's still, you know, catchy and you can sing along to with as less words as possible to try and fit melodies. And although I like what I do is because I'm so attached to words, I end up changing melodies to fit words. You know, it's still kind of, it needs to have that pop sensibility.
You have been an extraordinary ally for women and advocating for equal rights and have really not shied away from defining yourself as a feminist. You've advocated for Planned Parenthood for women in Saudi Arabia. And I was hoping you could talk just a little bit more about, you know, ways in which you have sort of thought about combating sexism both within the industry and beyond it.
It's really just starting a conversation. It's talking about it. It's normalizing the situation. It's about talking about the things that are important to us, making sure that we're seen in an environment where, you know, it's not necessarily male-dominated. I think, you know, the music industry still to this day is very much male-dominated. Of course, we have so many incredible female artists, but also behind the scenes, there's a lot of men. And there have just been multiple cases that women get overshadowed. And so for me, I guess it's just important to make sure that we talk about those things, talk to the younger generation, talk to the fans. And for me, I feel like I'm so fortunate that I've been given a platform where I can speak my mind and I can talk about the things that I believe in, that I'm not just a voice of myself, but also for everyone that has put their trust into me. Sometimes I get crazy backlash when I do talk about things that are important to me, but if I didn't, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to myself and to all my listeners. So I think the most important thing is really just to speak up and to show support and to talk about these things and to normalize the topic and to also have a lot of people understand the real definition of feminism. You know, it can get cross-wired, and for so long, people, you know, were also embarrassed to almost say that they're a feminist in case someone might say something, but it's just, to me, feminism is just the opposite of sexism.
Well put.